Welcome to the Narrate podcast, where we aim to tell God's story with our lives. We'll be continuing to post the Sunday message each week, but we want to dive a little deeper and offer some content to supplement your life with God, and that's where our Beyond Sunday series comes in. Join Adam and Narrate staff as they provide thoughtful discussions, ideas, and interviews that go beyond the message you'll hear on Sunday.
Can we just start by going why, as a 70-year-old woman, are you doing this work?
Sure.
When most people are doing other things far more relaxing.
Yeah, I don't look at myself as a vacation person. One that looks for, that's my life, what's my life's built around. But the main thing is I do it because I don't ever forget what it's like to have little children and sick kids, and I've never forgotten what it's like to feel so unable to do anything, and how important church was when my kids were little. And so I'm here to bring the kids into a safe place where they can, be known by their name and known for who they are, and watch them grow. I've watched lots of kids grow now, and to watch them form their community, to know each other, and to give the parents a 1-hour break. I mean, it seems kind of simple, actually. Why do I do it? Because I still can.
How does that dig into you and Bill and just your history with the value of not just being Christians, but of Christian community in general?
I don't think we can be Christians without being in Christian community, and I don't believe we can be Christians without being dedicated to the body. Now, that comes in a lot of different forms. I'm not saying everybody needs to go to church. I'm saying that people need to find their body, their community, and they be dedicated. Because in Bozeman, we had a community that wasn't always the ones we went to church with. But we were dedicated, and we still are. We still see each other. That's one thing that I'm doing in July, is seeing those people. So,
wow.
I mean, it's that, and I think you'll see, I think you already have seen, the people that you stay in contact with, that you stay in relationship with. It's not as many as you don't.
Yeah.
So the ones that, and it isn't just family. It can't just be family, for me anyway.
Yeah, say more about that. Why do you say that? Because for a lot of people at your season of life, it is just family, and specifically it's just kids and grandkids. Not to mention my season of life, but I mean, it seems like left to ourselves, our friendships funnel more and as we age to more and more just bloodlines.
Yeah, that's not true for me. I suppose because of our family complications, and our family has been complicated, and so I feel like I never expected my kids to hang out with me or to say that that's their community. I never expected that. I never expected me to be able to look them up all the time and find out what they're doing. I never looked at my family like that. My mom in particular would have liked that from me, but I never had that to give her. She wasn't my community, she was my family. And I loved her and loved my parents, but I was so different. And if people can't be different in a family without separating, then you just need to stick with them. And if that, it just, dedication comes from a lot of different ways, Adam. Dedication is of the heart, of the mind, and the spirit. It's so many places that we're dedicated. We never know when it's going to come up and we're going to go, that's what I need to be doing. I don't like obligations. And that's what I feel like it would be if I impose that on my kids, that they needed to always be around. And
I feel like there might be some parenting, matriarch, patriarch wisdom in what you just said too, though, of if I heard what you were saying correctly, is, I mean, on the one hand, and we can come back to this, there's this high value for, like, it's that Henry Cloud statement, right? If your family of origin is your family of God, then your family of God's unhealthy, which you and Bill lived that out so well. But the other thing you said there that I want to come back to is, if it's not okay to be different, then you just have to separate.
Or feel like you can be separate. That you don't have to follow, like, traditional holidays in my family were not very fun. They were not very inclusive. And so when Bill and I formed our own family, we included people. We found people that didn't have places, and we included them. And like, I remember seeing you one time, Rod came, he skied in, because we got 3 feet of snow that Christmas, and he skied in. I didn't even know he was coming. And Senia, so I asked Senia if she'd go and sit at a table with me and Rod in the living room, because there wasn't room anywhere else. And she said, oh yeah, what would holidays be unless there was a stranger involved?
Huh.
And I felt like she, out of all the kids, really got it first, because we were so transient, And we were the strangers.
Right.
So, but that really alerted me to that. I feel like I've gotten my point across. That it's really important to include others, and not to isolate as a family. Because that's what's easy, maybe. It wasn't easy for me, but I think it's easy for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like when you move to a new town and everybody has friends already. It's pretty hard to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as if everybody has families. It's the same.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes tons of sense. And I think what's not intuitive to you but has become second nature probably is the furthest thing from second nature to most of culture. So that's really a gift.
I gave my 35 years basically to my children. I did what they needed. I dedicated my life to them. But I didn't say that I would do it for always. They're adults. They need to know that they can create their own lives. And that might include me, and that might include Bill, and that might not. And that's what I've got to accept and be welcoming to, and I feel like I have over the years. I've had my times where I was sad that we didn't have more of a family unit.
Mm-hmm.
But now I see that when we come together, we're there together. And it's perfect.
So they're not burdened with your expectations, and you're not burdened with theirs. Huh.
And I think I don't want to burden my kids. I don't want to make them feel like just because we're their parents that we have to come first. I want them to live their lives according to their own hearts and dreams and passions. I really do.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the other gift you've given them there is, I mean, I've seen this play out in multiple situations just through my work, which is there comes a point where one person's lack of friends becomes another person's burden, especially the other person's family member. So I can also see where, I suppose the danger of what you've built is that your kids would feel unwanted, which I suspect they don't. But the gift of it is, if it doesn't work out that they're going to be at your house for Christmas, they don't sit around worried that you're going to be there alone. Have you not? I mean, because your youngest is how old now?
38.
So do you think she? Sorry, yeah. Do you think your kids understand this?
They do, because the one thing I really have impressed on them is don't worry.
About you?
Right. Let's communicate. Let's talk. But don't worry. Don't think that you have to do something to make things better. Because it isn't about doing. We're being together. When we're together, I got a great text from Kendra just affirming who I am as a mom. And I feel like that's what I want. I just want these messages here and there. I just really want them to live according to what they want to do. And I know we have commitments together, and whenever we've had trouble in our family, they all come.
What was she affirming? I mean, you
She
don't
was
have to just,
affirming that I loved her and that I always let her seek her own joy. And that she was just affirming that I had been a key figure in her being able to seek her own way. And I really felt like that's what this is all about for me. But I think, why do I do it? Because I want to serve. I want to serve till I can't. So I'm going to until I can't.
Yeah, that's such a gift. So it's interesting though, because just stepping back into the nursery a little bit, I mean, your vision is as much for the parents as it is the kids.
Yeah. Because I was the parent.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Who had the freedom, if I wanted, to drop my kids off and have 1 hour of non-expected time that nobody expected anything from me. I was just able to absorb my own stuff. I just feel like, and it's different too. And this is what I need to get better at. I'm working at it. It's the same when I don't want to make other people and other families in Narrate feel that I expect them to have a relationship with me. Because the ones I have a relationship with, I do.
Right.
And that's what they want. And I know that, and so I pursue them.
Right.
But I don't want to pursue just for the sake of that they're in Narrate and they have little kids that I take care of on Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't want to assume that they have time or want that. And the ones that do.
Right.
So, but I'm working at that because I do understand how isolating parenting is, and mothering, especially if they stay home or if they work full time, it's just the same. So.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying there is balancing the pursuing enough because sometimes people won't reciprocate just out of being overwhelmed, versus sometimes people don't reciprocate just because they're making a conscious choice to not, whether that's because of time constraints or whatever.
Or they don't feel that would be important.
Right, yeah.
For their life. And I understand that. There's people that I don't seek relationship with because I know that it would be very comfortable. It wouldn't come naturally.
I think that's the hardest thing about the more a place, to me it seems like the more a church values relationality and even things like small groups and all those things, which I think has become a lot more a part of our culture since COVID. But maintaining an imagination for some people, the only relationship they want is the one where they interact for 30 seconds on Sunday, and that's okay. Like that, just like anything, it's hard to retain a value for the whole. So I see.
I guess I want a relationship with people so that if they want to talk or if they want help, that they would feel free to call me or to text someone, within the nursery team. Because, everybody's as dedicated as I am. Everyone. Yeah. That's the kind of team I have.
Yeah, let's talk about your team. What are the highlights of those who serve with you? What do they bring?
Well, I think some of them came in thinking, I want to hold babies again. That was their motivation. And now it's become, those babies grow up and go on to preschool. So now the new babies come in, but there are a couple that all they want to do is hold the babies. And those are the ones I hand the babies to, because that's who's going to really love them and embrace them and take good care of them. And that's what babies need. And I kind of oversee the things so that nobody gets hit in the head with a toy or anything.
Sure.
But the main thing is my team is, I think, partially dedicated to me. I think partially, not all the way, but partially, different team members are dedicated to me in the nursery commitment, and others find such joy there. The young women like Hazel, she just comes and just finds so much joy there, and it's really fun to watch that on her face.
And what brings her so much joy?
the ridiculousness of children.
Huh.
The little tiny children, when they're so cute and funny and goofy and just transparent. They're just so cool. And I mean, I just don't have bad weeks, really. I mean, even I just don't. It doesn't seem like there are bad weeks.
That's a good sign that you're in the right spot when you say something like that.
Mm-hmm. And I think they've all grown up with a certain expectation. Oh, come and play. Come and play. Are you here to play? Great. You're here to play. You're here to have fun. And so they come in with an expectation of having fun and being there to play, instead of like, that's why I've had a trouble with doing any kind of teaching or, you know, certain curriculum, because I don't know how to organize them. It'd be like organizing cats, you know. They're just like, I mean, some of them are babies and some of them are running off to go to the bathroom, you know. So I mean, we have a balance there of a lot of different ages, and I just want to see them show respect and be kind to each other. That's really important to me, and I think that starts with knowing their name.
And you say that, but it's like 6 months to 2 years, or is it 6 months?
6 weeks.
Or sorry, 6 weeks to
6 to 3 years old.
Okay.
Till they're potty trained, and some of them come back even then.
Yeah, so it's funny because I mean, you're talking about this big age range, and like it's not that big, but to your point of big difference between a 6-week-old and a 2.5-year-old.
That's why I love the people that love the babies, because they want to hold them and keep an eye on them, and they need that with 2.5 and 3-year-old kids running around throwing balls.
Yeah, wow.
So
your oldest team member. I mean, so you said there's people who want to hold babies. So I'm assuming that's like stage of life is the like middle age, had your kids.
Yeah, sometimes.
Who else are the people who want to hold babies? I suppose
the young women that long.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. How does, when someone jumps on team with you, what usually initiates that?
Sometimes it's cards. I met Heather here at a book group, Heather Zalewski, and so I think that having that introduction, and then when you put out a call for help in the nursery, I think she realized she could have she could be in relationship with me too. I mean, it wasn't like she was going into strange territory all of a sudden, and I think that was part of it. She's the one I can think of. A lot of them have just come on because they like kids too. They like that age too. Whereas other people really like the whole teaching and playing games and all that. Whereas the ones that seem to be in the nursery like the babies, like the atmosphere of that age, which I do too.
And your message to the mom who's like afraid to bring her baby?
Well, come and be with the baby there. Come and be with them. You don't have to drop them off. You don't have to entrust us. You know, I want people to come. That's why we set up the other room. I don't put the rug down anymore because that was overkill. But, you know, the TV's there. If they want to watch something, they can shut the door. They can nurse their babies. They can change their babies. They can be with their babies. Or they can come and sit in the nursery and be in the nursery with us. They're always welcome. Families are always welcome to a certain degree.
What's the catch?
They can't move in.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we have parents that move in when they pick up the kids or whatever, and I guess I don't want people to come into this space.
I see.
Just to pick up their kids. I want it to be kind of that's a boundary to me.
So if your child needs like an acclimation season, come hang out.
And you don't have to entrust us. You need to come and see what it is. And you're always welcome to do that. And people, especially first babies, I know how hard it is, you know, especially how little they are and how well they do for so long in little front packs and stuff. You know, babies do really well being snuggled, and that's usually a nap time, and it goes pretty well. But if it doesn't, they're welcome to come down and be a part of the nursery with them.
You also have strong opinions about like helping your kid through separation anxiety. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, what do you want? Do you want your child?
Oh.
Do you want your child to be a grown-up coming home every weekend and crying on your shoulders, and depending on you in ways that would never be healthy for you or them? What do you want? Do you want a kid that goes to school and can't stand up for themselves? What do you want from your child? If you wanted them to be dependent on you for the rest of their life, you can create that. If you want a child that can live without you, if they have to, they can. I think it's important that we give them the strong foundation of God created them to be exactly who they are. And it's really hard. I know it is. I've gone through all different stages as a mom, of holding on, letting go, holding on, losing. I've gone through all those stages, and I don't think any of it's easy, but I didn't, like, let's say I died suddenly. I don't want my kids to not be able to function or go on. I want them to know that they can do it, and I've done that since they were tiny. And I stayed home with them the whole time. When my daughter started second grade, I went to work part-time.
Right, yeah.
But otherwise, I was there all the time.
And yet still had that passion and accomplished that.
And we raised them without a fence, so they had to learn boundaries. I didn't want to find them in the street getting run over. I mean, there's a certain amount of protection that you have to show your children. But you can't save them, and you might as well learn that when they're little. You can't save them, but you can help them and teach them to be all that they are, and encourage them in that way. That's a big deal, and I've had my disappointments with my kids, don't get me wrong. So.
Man, there's a lot of gold there.
But they're still really sweet, kind, generous people, all of them.
Your kids.
Yeah. And I'm proud of them for that.
So that parent who's struggling with their own separation anxiety and or the child they're reticent to come take advantage of what you and your team provide on a Sunday morning, walk them through the steps.
I guess it's going to have to come down to fear. That if you're afraid to leave your child, why? It's not about us. It's really about what's inside the mother or the dad. And the earlier the better for me, because like I've said before, when the babies are little, they usually get dropped off in a car seat. So they sit there and they're like, they're not even at the stage where they're being separated. They don't even understand that yet. They haven't felt that from their parent. They're just there. It's a new environment, and they're watching and seeing. And, and then if they make any squeak, then somebody goes over and takes them out of their car seat and sees what they need. But I really would encourage parents that were afraid to do the work that it takes to shed fear.
Yeah.
I can't encourage people enough, because, man, it only gets more so as they grow.
Right.
You just, if you have a lot of fear about your children, then it's better to deal with it when they're tiny, I think.
Makes sense.
And I also know that parenting is the hardest job I've ever done and continue to do. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not.
Continue to do. You said your youngest is 37.
38.
38.
I'm still their mom, Adam. I'll always be their mom. She called the other day, like a month ago, and, was just shedding tears over what was going on, how disappointed she was in a certain circumstance, and all I did was listen. And she doesn't do it very often, and none of my kids do it very often, but when they do, I'm still their mom. The one that always listened to them and heard them and knew them. I mean, you can't ever lose that title, that place. And yet, I don't want to baby them to think that they aren't strong enough to do it on their own.
Sure.
Because they are, all of them.
Well, thank you. You make us so much better. You and Bill both.
Well, we're glad to be here. And it's important. It's an important journey we're on right now.
Is there anything is there anything I didn't ask that you're hoping I would?
No, I don't know your mind. I don't know mine anywhere.
Is there anything your mind was hoping to say that it hasn't said yet?
I think church can be your family. I think it can, in some ways, nourish you like your family does. But it's not as easy because you don't know each other and you don't finish people's sentences and like you do in the family and all that. But I do think that God created the body to sustain us, to give us a second chance at family. And
I wonder too, like, I mean, the advantage of a healthy family is you can be almost entirely a taker and not a giver.
absolutely.
But outside of that context, a person's got to learn. I mean, if you're going to have community
And friends.
and friends, you've got to learn to not just be a taker, but to be a giver.
And to realize how important your role is and your place is and your personhood is.
Yeah.
And that's tricky in foreign territory of other people.
It is, yeah. I mean, yeah, because on the one hand, I think love goes first. But on the other hand, what really constitutes friendship is reciprocation. And that's hard to... So it does seem like Jesus calls us to be servants and to be available and to practice hospitality and all these kind of self-sacrificing things. That's the way I've learned to think of it is reciprocation is a gift. But if I live expecting it, then you set yourself up for failure. But to just see the grace of the Holy Spirit when you receive it.
And I think, too, our inner voices can really confuse us. Like if you always are saying, I'm so lonely, or I'm so anything, yet you're so. If you're always hearing those voices, then, and that's the unlearning that we have to do. And I always feel like if I am feeling like I am so lonely, man, it's time to call somebody. It isn't time for me to wait for somebody to call me.
Exactly.
It's time for me to call somebody or reach beyond my supposed borders.
Yeah, no, that's great. Hard to do, but great.
Yeah, it is.
Because we want to tell ourselves that if someone loved us, they would know and they'd reach out.
Yeah, that's kind of silly. Actually,
It is,
to
but
think that, but
I do think it's the default. Like it's call it the depraved mind left to itself. That's where it goes.
yeah, and it goes to me. And Christ never went there. He was always reaching out, even when he was so tired and spent.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well.
This is great. This is going to be awesome.
If you'd like to learn more about Narrate Church, find us online at narratechurch.org.
You can also look us up on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks for listening.